My child, stop for a moment and listen closely, because this message has found you at the exact time your heart needed it most, not by chance, not by accident, but because something deep within you has been quietly calling for clarity, for peace, for a sign that you are not alone in what you have been carrying, and I want you to know that I see you right now. I see the weight you have been holding without words, the thoughts you keep to yourself, the quiet moments when you wonder if anything is truly changing, and even though you have kept going, even though you have tried to stay strong for everyone around you, there have been times when you felt like you were running on empty, like no one fully understood what was happening inside you, and that feeling, that quiet heaviness, is not something you imagined, it is something I have witnessed with you every step of the way, because I have been closer than you realize, even in the silence, even in the waiting, and I know there were nights when you lay awake thinking about the same questions, replaying the same worries, trying to find meaning in what felt like delays or missed opportunities, and in those moments, you may have thought you were being overlooked, or that your time had not yet come, but what you could not see then is that there was a purpose forming beneath the surface, something steady, something intentional, something that required patience even when it did not make sense. And I need you to hear this now, not as a distant idea but as something meant personally for you. What you have been experiencing has not been wasted, not one moment of it, not one tear, not one effort, because everything has been shaping you in ways that will soon become clearer, and I know it has been difficult to trust that when results did not come as quickly as you hoped, when doors did not open the way you expected, when people did not stay the way you thought they would. But even in those moments, I was guiding what you could not yet understand, protecting paths you could not see, and preparing something that required you to grow beyond what you once believed about yourself, and this is why this moment matters, this exact moment right now, because you are not in the same place you were before, even if it feels similar on the surface, something within you has shifted, something has become stronger, quieter, more aware, and as you listen to this, you may feel that subtle recognition, that sense that this is speaking directly into your situation, because it is, and there is more that you are about to understand. More that will begin to make sense in ways you did not expect, and what comes next is something you almost overlooked, but it is closer than you think. And now I need you to stay with me a little longer, because what you have been feeling lately is not random, even if you have tried to explain it away as stress or exhaustion or just another phase that will pass, there has been a quiet shift happening within you, something subtle but real, and you may have noticed it in small moments, like when you pause during the day and feel a sense of stillness that you cannot quite explain, or when you begin to question things that once felt certain, or when the same situations that used to drain you no longer hold the same power over your spirit, and you might not have fully understood why, but that is because you were not meant to see the full picture all at once, not yet, because growth does not always arrive with clarity, sometimes it begins with confusion, with discomfort, with a sense that something is changing before you can name what it is. And I have been guiding you through that process even when it felt uncertain, even when you doubted whether you were moving forward at all, because I know how easy it is for you to measure your progress by what you can see on the outside, by results, by recognition, by visible outcomes, but what has been happening within you has been far more important than anything external, and that is why things may have slowed down in certain areas of your life, not as a setback, but as a space being created for something deeper to take root. And I understand that waiting has not been easy for you. Especially when you have been doing your best, showing up, trying again, holding on even when it felt like nothing was changing, and there were moments when you wondered if your efforts were even being noticed, if your patience was worth it, if your quiet persistence meant anything at all, and I want you to hear this clearly, every step you have taken has mattered, even the ones that felt small, even the ones that felt unseen, because they have been building something steady inside of you. Something that cannot be shaken by temporary circumstances. And this is where your perspective begins to shift, because what once felt like delay begins to reveal itself as preparation, what once felt like silence begins to reveal itself as protection, and what once felt like uncertainty begins to reveal itself as guidance, and I know that realization does not come all at once, it unfolds gently, piece by piece, as you begin to notice that you are responding differently, thinking differently, choosing differently than you did before, and that is not by accident. That is the result of everything you have been walking through, everything you have been learning without even realizing it, and there is something else you need to understand as you move forward, something that will help you make sense of what is coming next, because the changes you have been experiencing are not only internal, they are preparing you for a shift that will begin to show itself outwardly as well, and this next part is important, because it connects everything you have been through to what is about to unfold, and if you stay present with me, you will begin to see it more clearly than ever before. And as you begin to understand this shift within you, I want you to gently look back over the recent moments of your life, not with pressure, not with judgment, but with quiet awareness, because there have been small signs placed along your path that you may have overlooked, not because you were careless, but because you were still learning how to see them, and these signs are not loud or dramatic, they often come in the simplest ways, like a conversation that stayed in your mind longer than expected, or a moment when something did not work out and yet you felt an unusual sense of calm instead of frustration, or even a sudden feeling to pause, to step back, to not react the way you normally would, and you may have wondered why you felt that way, why something inside you chose stillness over urgency, and that is because you are being guided into a different way of moving through your life, one that is less driven by pressure and more aligned with clarity, and I know there have also been moments when certain things no longer felt right to you, places, habits, even patterns of thinking that once felt normal now feel distant, and that can be confusing at first, because it creates a space between who you were and who you are becoming, and in that space it is easy to question yourself, to wonder if you are losing something instead of gaining something, but what is actually happening is a quiet release, a gentle clearing of what no longer supports where you are being led, and you might notice this in the way you respond to situations that used to overwhelm you, or in the way you are starting to choose peace over proving a point, or rest over constant effort, and these are not random changes, they are signs of alignment, signs that something within you is becoming more grounded, more centered, even if everything around you has not fully caught up yet, and I want you to also think about the times when something did not go as planned, when a door did not open, when an opportunity seemed to pass by, because at the time it may have felt disappointing. It may have left you questioning what you did wrong or what you could have done differently, but now, if you look again, you might begin to see that those moments created space for something else, something that you could not have stepped into if things had gone the way you originally expected, and this is where your awareness becomes important, not to analyze every detail, but to recognize that your path has been shaped in ways that go beyond immediate understanding, and you are not being asked to have all the answers right now, only to notice, to stay present, to allow yourself to see that there is a pattern of care woven through your experiences, even the ones that felt uncertain, and as you continue listening, there is one more layer to this that you are ready to understand, something that connects these signs with a deeper sense of direction, and it may change the way you see everything that has been happening up to this point. And now you are ready to see something more clearly than before, something that may gently shift the way you understand your own story, because the moments you once labeled as loss, as disappointment, as something slipping away from your hands, were never meant to harm you, they were moments of quiet protection, even if they did not feel that way at the time, and I know there were situations where you gave your energy, your time, your trust, and things did not return to you in the way you hoped. And it left you questioning your worth, questioning your direction, wondering if you had made a mistake, but what you could not see then was how those closed paths were keeping you from becoming entangled in what would have drained you further, and even now, if you pause and reflect, you may begin to feel a sense of relief that certain things did not work out the way you once wanted them to, because you are no longer the same person who first desired them, and that is not failure, that is growth, and in the same way, the delays that once frustrated you, the waiting that tested your patience, the seasons where nothing seemed to move forward, were not empty spaces in your life, they were preparation, quiet, steady preparation that was shaping your awareness, your resilience, your ability to choose differently, and I understand how difficult it is to recognize preparation when you are in the middle of waiting, because the world often measures progress by speed, by visible change, by immediate results, but what has been happening within you has required time, it has required stillness, it has required you to become someone who can hold what is meant for you without losing your sense of peace, and that kind of preparation cannot be rushed, and there is something else you are beginning to notice as well, something subtle but important, the silence you once feared, the moments when you felt like nothing was being said, nothing was being answered, were not absence, they were invitations, invitations to come back to yourself, to reconnect with a deeper sense of calm that does not depend on external outcomes, and I know that silence can feel uncomfortable at first, especially when you are used to searching for constant reassurance, constant direction, but within that quiet space, you have been learning how to listen in a different way, not just for answers, but for understanding, for alignment, for a sense of steadiness that remains even when circumstances are uncertain, and this is where the shift becomes real for you, not just something you hear, but something you begin to feel, because you are starting to recognize that nothing you have experienced has been wasted, not the loss, not the delay, not the silence. Each part has been guiding you, shaping you, preparing you for a different way of moving forward, one that is not driven by urgency or fear, but by clarity and trust. And as this realization settles within you, you may feel a sense of release, a softening of the tension you have been holding, because you no longer need to fight against what has already passed. You no longer need to carry the weight of trying to understand everything all at once. You can allow yourself to move with what is unfolding, step by step, and there is something just ahead that will deepen this understanding even further, something that will help you see how all of this connects to what is beginning to open in your life now. And there are still moments, even now, when your faith feels quietly tested in the middle of ordinary life, not in dramatic ways, but in the small, personal spaces that only you truly notice, like the time you kept checking your phone, hoping for a call or a message that never came, and you tried to tell yourself it did not matter, but something in your heart felt the silence more deeply than you expected. Or when you stood in front of an opportunity that you had worked toward, only to find the doors still closed, with no clear explanation, leaving you wondering if you were moving in the right direction at all. And there have been days when your work felt uncertain, when you questioned if you were building something meaningful or simply trying to hold things together. And even in your relationships, you may have felt a distance growing, not because of anything you said or did, but as if certain connections were slowly shifting away from where you are now. And in those moments, especially in the quiet of an evening when everything slows down and there is nothing left to distract you, it can feel like you are carrying it all alone, like you have been overlooked, like your efforts have gone unseen. And I know how real that feeling is, how it can settle in your chest and make you question whether you are truly supported. But I want you to understand something gently and clearly. You have never been abandoned in those moments, not once, even when it felt that way, because presence is not always loud, and care is not always obvious in the moment it is given. And while you were waiting for answers in the form you expected, something else was happening that you could not yet see. You were being held steady through situations that might have overwhelmed you before. You were being guided away from paths that would have taken more from you than they gave. And even when that call did not come, or that door did not open, or that connection began to fade, it was not a sign that you were forgotten. It was a quiet redirection, a gentle movement away from what no longer aligns with where you are being led. And I know that does not always make the moment easier, because you are human. And it is natural to want reassurance, to want clarity, to want something to hold on to, but what you are learning now is a deeper kind of trust, one that does not depend on immediate results, one that grows even when things are not fully resolved. And this kind of trust is not built in comfort alone, it is shaped in these very moments, when you choose to keep your heart open even when you feel uncertain, when you allow yourself to rest instead of forcing an answer, when you begin to see that your worth is not measured by who stays or who responds or what arrives right away, but by the quiet strength you are developing within yourself. And even in those evenings when the world feels distant and you feel like you are the only one carrying your thoughts, you are not alone in that space. You are being met there, gently, patiently, without pressure, and there is something important forming through these experiences, something that will help you move forward with more clarity and peace than you have known before. And as you continue, there is another layer to this that will help you understand why these tests of faith have been necessary, and how they are preparing you for what is beginning to take shape just ahead. And as you continue walking through these moments, you may begin to notice something subtle but meaningful happening around you, not in ways that demand attention, but in ways that gently invite your awareness, like a simple conversation where someone says exactly what you needed to hear without even realizing it, or a message that arrives at just the right time, not solving everything, but giving you enough clarity to take the next step. And you might pause and wonder how that timing came together so precisely, or you might feel a quiet sense of calm wash over you in the middle of a situation that would have once made you anxious, a kind of peace that does not come from external certainty but from something steady within you. And even small opportunities may begin to appear, nothing overwhelming, nothing that changes everything overnight, but small openings that feel aligned, like a chance to try something new, to reconnect with a part of yourself you had set aside, or to move in a direction that feels more natural than forced, and you might be tempted to overlook these moments because they do not seem significant at first, but they are part of a larger pattern forming in your life, not as something mystical or exaggerated, but as a reflection of your growing awareness and your willingness to move with what feels right instead of what feels pressured. And there are also times when something does not happen, when a delay occurs, when a plan shifts unexpectedly, and while it may feel inconvenient in the moment, later you may realize that it prevented you from stepping into something that was not meant for you, or it gave you the space to approach a situation with more clarity than you would have had before. And these experiences are not meant to convince you that every detail is perfectly arranged in a way you must decode, but rather to help you see that there is a sense of direction present in your life that becomes clearer as you slow down and pay attention. And I want you to understand this gently: you are not being asked to search for signs everywhere or to assign meaning to every small event, but simply to remain open, to notice when something resonates. When something feels aligned with the deeper sense of peace you are beginning to recognize within yourself, because that inner steadiness is becoming your guide, and the more you trust it, the more you will find yourself moving through your life with less confusion and more clarity, even when everything is not fully resolved. And as you continue forward, there is another layer to this unfolding, something that will help you understand not just the signs around you, but the strength that has been building within you all along, and how it is preparing you to step into what comes next with a sense of calm confidence rather than uncertainty. And as this awareness deepens within you, something begins to loosen its grip on your heart, something you once held on to so tightly without even realizing it, and you may start to notice that the need to chase certain outcomes, certain people, certain answers, is slowly fading, not because you stopped caring, but because you are beginning to understand that not everything is meant to be held on to forever. And there is a quiet strength in allowing what no longer fits to gently fall away, even if part of you once hoped it would stay. And I know this has not been easy for you, because letting go can feel like giving up. It can feel like losing something important, especially when you invested your time, your energy, your hopes into it. But what you are learning now is that letting go is not the same as losing. It is making space, it is choosing to no longer carry what weighs you down. And this includes the expectations you placed on yourself, the need to have everything figured out, the pressure to prove something to others, and even the quiet resentment you may have held towards situations that did not unfold the way you believed they should. And as you begin to release these things, something remarkable starts to happen within you. Your heart becomes lighter, your thoughts become clearer, and you find yourself responding to life with less tension and more presence. And there is also a softness growing in you, a willingness to forgive, not just others, but yourself as well, for the times you doubted, for the times you stayed too long, for the times you questioned your own worth. And this forgiveness is not about forgetting what happened, it is about freeing yourself from carrying it forward. It is about allowing your energy to return to you instead of being tied to the past. And I want you to notice how this shift feels, how you no longer feel pulled toward doors that have already closed, how you are no longer trying to force something to reopen just to feel secure, because you are beginning to trust that what is meant for you will not require you to abandon your sense of peace to obtain it. And this is where true calm begins to take root within you, not the kind that depends on everything going perfectly, but the kind that remains even when things are still unfolding, because you are no longer being guided by fear, you are not reacting out of urgency or pressure, you are choosing from a place of understanding. And that is a powerful change, one that transforms how you move through every part of your life. And even if you still feel moments of uncertainty, they no longer control you the way they once did. They pass through without defining you, and in their place, there is a quiet confidence growing, not loud, not forceful, but steady and real. And as you continue in this space, there is something even more meaningful beginning to take shape, something that will show you how far you have come and how ready you are for what is unfolding next. And now, as you stand in this quieter, clearer space within yourself, you may begin to sense that something is drawing closer, not in a way that rushes you or overwhelms you, but in a way that gently asks you to be ready, to be present, to meet what is coming with an open and steady heart. Because what is unfolding next is not just about what you receive, it is about who you are becoming as you receive it. And I want you to understand this carefully. Preparation is not only about waiting, it is about participation. It is about the small choices you make each day that align you with the peace you have been learning to trust. Like choosing to begin your morning with a moment of stillness instead of rushing into noise, or speaking honestly in a conversation where you might have once stayed silent just to keep things comfortable, or allowing yourself to pause and reflect before reacting, even when your first instinct is to respond quickly. And these may seem like small things, but they are shaping the way you move forward. They are strengthening your ability to carry what is ahead without losing your sense of balance. And there is also something deeper you are being invited into. A calmer way of connecting, where your thoughts are not scattered by worry, but gathered with intention, where your words come from a place of sincerity instead of pressure, and where you begin to trust that you do not need to control every outcome to move in the right direction. And I know there may still be moments when you feel unsure, when you wonder if you are doing enough, if you are moving fast enough, if you are ready for what is next, but readiness is not measured by perfection. It is shaped by willingness, by your openness to grow, to learn, to step forward even when everything is not fully clear. And this is where your responsibility becomes part of your faith, not as a burden, but as a partnership, where you take steady steps with what is in front of you while trusting that more will be revealed as you continue. And I want you to notice how your habits are already beginning to shift, how you are choosing differently, thinking differently, even in ways that feel subtle, because these changes are not random, they are preparing you to hold something new with greater awareness and care. And as you continue in this direction, you may start to feel a quiet sense of anticipation, not the kind that creates pressure, but the kind that brings a gentle sense of expectancy, like something meaningful is approaching, something that aligns with the work you have been doing within yourself. And it does not require you to force it or chase it. It asks you to remain steady, to stay grounded in the clarity you have gained, and to move forward with both faith and responsibility, trusting that what is meant for you will meet you as you continue to become who you are meant to be. And there is one final piece of this journey that will bring everything together, something that will help you see just how far you have come and how this path is opening in ways you are now ready to receive.